My roommate let something into our apartment, and I don't think it's going to leave. I'm not exactly sure where to turn with this. Paranormal forums have been no help, and most places on the internet just start talking about salt, iron, and calling Sam and Dean to fix the issue. This is real though, and it's getting worse, and I'm fucking terrified. About a week ago, I came home late from work at my usual time. I usually get off around 10:30, and my roommate Jackson works pretty early, so it's not uncommon to see him passed out on the couch. That night, though, he was wide awake, sitting and watching a scary movie with the lights off. I greeted him and tossed my keys on the table, but as I went to reach for the light, he turned and yelled at me.
"Leave it off!"
I jumped back, startled. What the fuck, man?
Sorry.
He settled back on the couch, his eyes turning towards the screen again.
We're just trying to enjoy the atmosphere of the movie.
I looked around and didn't see anyone else in the room. Tension filled the air. Who's we? You got a mouse in your pocket? I joked, hoping to lighten things and make it feel normal again. Instead, he turned to me with wide, glassy eyes and corrected himself.
Me. I'm trying to enjoy the atmosphere of the movie.
He slowly turned his head back towards the screen, where some mass killer was stalking his victim. A combination of the intensity in his eyes, the dark room, the scary movie, and the way he'd reacted to my arrival sent a shiver up my spine and put a sick feeling in my stomach. Well, whatever, man. I tried to shake it off. See you in the morning. I walked away towards my room, but he didn't respond. His eyes glued on the screen as he silently watched the movie with a stiff-backed posture. I turned back to him one last time before I shut my door, and I could swear I saw something out of the corner of my eye standing next to the couch. I did a double take, and it was gone. Instead, I noticed Jackson had turned his head toward me. His eyes were still glassy, and his mouth stretched itself into a toothy smile. I quickly shut my bedroom door and locked it. I flicked on my TV and put on some random YouTube videos to hopefully distract me from what I just saw. Was he fucking with me? Trying to scare me? What the hell had just happened? Jackson had always been a bit of a prankster. One time he hid the vacuum in my room and set it up to an electrical switch on a timer. Damn thing went off at 3 in the morning and scared the shit out of me. That was funny. This was not. I spent the rest of the night laying in bed and staring at my TV with this bizarre smile imprinted on my brain. I thought about getting up and confronting him, but before I knew it, I heard the TV shut off in the living room and him go to his room and close the door. Any expectation I had of him coming to my door, knocking, apologizing, and explaining what the hell just happened died. Instead, I decided to try and get some sleep and ask him in the morning. Sure, it was weird, and yes, it creeped me out, but at the time I didn't realize I was living in what would become a nightmare, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt and shrugged it off. I can hear you wondering why I didn't just book it right then and there, but the guy had been my roommate for 3 years with barely any issues. He was a nice dude with no history of anything weird as far as I knew, and it was much easier to assume it was a strange night and my eyes and brain were playing tricks on me after a long night of work. I convinced myself it was a badly timed joke on his part, and in time I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke to find Jackson sitting at the kitchen table, eating a bowl of cereal and scrolling on his phone. I could smell coffee brewing in the pot.
"Morning, dude,"
he said in his typical cheerful tone, not looking up from his breakfast.
"Made coffee. Help yourself."
Morning. I side-eyed him as I walked through the kitchen and finally he caught my gaze.
"What?"
He shot me a confused look and shrugged his shoulders as he spooned some more cereal into his mouth. Last night, dude. Not funny. I couldn't believe he was playing stupid with me. You actually freaked me the hell out. He laughed and shook his head.
Sorry, man. I was just fucking with you. I guess the horror movie put me in a mood.
I actually remember breathing a sigh of relief. I'd figured he was messing with me, but hearing it confirmed made me feel a lot better. I don't mind a prank now and then, man. Just save it for when I'm not exhausted. I poured myself some coffee and started heading back towards my room to try and relax during my day off.
You got it, brother.
He raised his bowl to me in cheers and smiled a normal smile. But as I walked away, I heard his tone change and lower to be almost imperceptible. He spoke words that once again filled my gut with ice.
We'll try to be more considerate next time.
What did you just say? I turned to him again.
Me.
he said with a mouthful of cereal.
Nothing.
You definitely said something, I insisted.
Dude, you are being weird as hell.
He got up and put his now empty bowl in the sink.
Listen, I'm sorry I messed with you last night, but I promise I didn't say shit though.
Again, I know what I heard, but he was convincing as hell. It was easy to trick myself into thinking I was psyching myself out. There was no reason the guy would be gaslighting me. At worst, he was just messing with me, and if I told myself I just needed to let it go, everything would go back to normal. I guess I'm still just tired and a little tweaked out from last night, I said to him. I sipped my coffee and headed towards my room again. Sorry, man.
No worries.
He said, heading towards his room as well.
Sorry I tweaked you with my joke.
I thought that would be that. But 2 nights later, things got way worse. I woke up at about 1:30 to the sound of scratching at my door. It was like a dog begging to be let in, despite the fact that neither Jackson or I have a dog. I wiped the sleep from my eyes and stared at the door with an intense focus. The sound continued. Small scratches, short and quick. It made me think a bit of scurrying rats gnawing on support beams in the walls. I slipped out of bed as quietly as I could and got closer to the door. I pressed my ear to the wood and could feel vibrations of whatever was scratching on the other side. "Jackson!" I called out, unsure if I was expecting a response.
What's up, man?
I heard him right away, but not next to my door. He sounded like he was in the living room. I flung the door open to nothing. Moonlight crept in through the window and cast an eerie blue over the apartment, but Jackson wasn't there. No rat, no dog, no roommate. Nothing to have made the noise and no one to have called back to me. Maybe I should have been scared, but honestly, I was irritated. He was still trying to mess with me, and I just wasn't in the mood. I walked across the hall to his door and knocked on it aggressively. "Jack!" I almost shouted, but thought better. I kept my tone firm and knocked again. "Jack, what the fuck, man?" Silence. I pressed my ear against his door. "Jack?" I said again in a softer tone. He didn't respond. I tried his knob, and his door wasn't locked. As I turned the handle, this creeping dread filled me that something awful was waiting for me on the other side of that door. "Hey man, are you alright in there?" I slowly pushed the door open, and as the room slowly came into view, I saw Jackson sitting on his bed with his back to me. His posture was stiff like before while he was watching the movie. Hands on his knees, his body still as a statue. "Dude, what the hell is..." My words caught in my throat as the rest of the view came into view. I still can't fully believe what I saw standing there. A figure stood next to Jack. Tall, I would guess almost 7 feet. A sheet was draped over it like an old ghost costume, but without the eye holes. Just a white sheet with what looked to be a person underneath.
I'm fine.
Jackson spoke, but not alone. The thing underneath the sheet spoke with him in unison, its gravelly, rotten voice tangled with his.
I'm just hanging out with my new friend.
I almost screamed, but I was so goddamn scared that at that moment I was frozen in place. Something about this made me realize this was no joke. The thing under the sheet gave off the worst air of danger I'd ever felt in my life, like staring down the barrel of a gun.
He came knocking the other night.
They both spoke. The thing just a half second before Jack, though, like it was guiding his voice.
I let him in. He likes it here. So warm and inviting.
I backed away slowly. A terror filled me and told me to flee. I felt like if I ran, it would chase me, like locking eyes with a predator in the wild.
We can all be friends now. The best of friends. Jackson says you're easy to scare.
It was speaking alone now.
Show me.
With that, it moved across the room, and then it was directly in front of me. It didn't walk or run. It was like it fucking fast-forwarded. Startled, I stumbled backwards and into the wall behind me, cracking my head in a framed picture. I stumbled to my feet and looked up. Jackson was once again wearing that stiff smile and standing next to this thing. This intruder.
Come on, brother.
They said together.
Let's all watch something scary.
The sheet lifted ever so slightly, and a gaunt grey arm slid from underneath. Thin, bony fingers reached for me and snagged the collar of my shirt as I attempted to bolt down the hall into the front door.
We can all live together. No need to run.
The voice got muddier, uglier. It sounded like it was underwater and distorted, shredded vocal cords. I flung open the front door and flew into the hallway. The hall lights burned my eyes for a second as I ran to the stairs. All around me, at every apartment door, I heard knocking as I tore my way down the hallway. I saw some people opening their doors to find out what was going on. Each of them went blank as soon as they did. I watched some of them fling the door open, ready to scream at whoever was knocking so late, but their expression dropped and their eyes went as glassy as Jack's. I jumped down, skipping 3 to 4 steps at a time, my bare feet slapping against the cold vinyl floors of the building's hallways. More and more doors opened, people standing there frozen at the threshold, and those tall, sheet-covered entities standing next to them. Some were guiding them back into their homes. Some just watched me as I moved as quickly as I could down the hall. I burst out through the front door and into the warm night air. I must have ran 3 or 4 blocks before the realization hit me that I was in my pajama pants, no phone, no wallet, no keys, no shoes, and no fucking idea what to do. I ended up finding an all-night diner and let me use their phone. I thought about calling the cops. But what do I say? Ghosts have taken over my apartment building and the residents are hypnotized? Possessed? Nothing I could say wouldn't sound insane. I would get treated like a fucking crackpot. I called my sister. I wasn't even sure what to say to her. I told her something was wrong with Jackson. He was acting crazy, and I was not comfortable staying in that apartment anymore. I've been here for 3 days now. I don't know what to do anymore. At the urging of my sister, I called the police to at least do a wellness check on Jackson. I was terrified of sending anyone to that apartment building, but they told us they checked on him and everything seemed fine. He answered all their questions normally, told them he had pulled a bad joke on me and he was okay. This was not a joke, and I feel like I'm going crazy. My sister Ashley and her husband are urging me to just go home and talk it out with him, or at least get my things. I don't know what to do, though. I feel like I'm losing my mind. And that was My Roommate Let Something Into Our Apartment and I Don't Think It's Going to Leave by Dead&Spread. It's a great name, really great name. So, first off, I'd like to thank Sean, our new additional voice actor for this one. He's, I gotta say, he's got a nice tone to his voice. Very, very creative, very good. He sent me some clips of him before doing kind of like Gravemind from Halo, like real deep baritone kind of voices, which is pretty nice. So I was quite excited to kind of really give him something to really stretch his vocal cords out and kind of just have a bit of fun with this one. So let me go ahead and just show you his YouTube channel as well. This is how you can show your support to him and check out the things he's up to and everything. I'll obviously pop a link in the description below. I'm very excited to see what else we might get out of this guy, you know. So I'll keep my eye on you, Sean. I'll keep my eye on you. Right, let's go ahead and jump into this story and kind of talk a bit about it. So I quite liked it. It's one of those stories that, yet again, makes you feel like you have an idea of what's going on. You feel like you can kind of break it down. You don't have any confirmation about what's going on, which is fine. I like a little air of mystery where you kind of piece it together yourself. Maybe you figured it out. Maybe you don't. Maybe there's weird rules in play that you don't know. Hard to say. It's great fun. So obviously you've got some sort of an entity, like I suppose you could say, you call it kind of like a ghouly person kind of under a sheet. They're probably some kind of we're talking either maybe like a ghost we're talking about. I mean, it could be a demon. We're not entirely sure, are we? It could be any kind of thing that is not human, for sure. Could have been human at one point, but clearly is not alive anymore. That's the vibes I'm getting. Usually makes me think of demon or some kind of a creepy ghosty kind of thing. Which a long time ago in the Badlands Boys podcast, we covered a bunch of varieties of like ghosts and stuff, because there's a variety of different versions, like banshees, mares, etc., etc. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but the fact is there are so many of similar things that still have different qualities that kind of really give them a bit more flavor and specialty, if you will. So I don't know exactly which one this would fall into camp-wise. It clearly has a way to be able to possess people. Later on in the story, obviously when he's escaping, and you see there's more than one, then I'm wondering, is it like just is it a clone of itself? Is it able to like duplicate, for example? Or are there multiple? in this apartment building, for example. We don't know. Yeah, again, there's not quite enough information to really piece anything else together. My initial guess is that it itself is duplicating. I don't know how exactly it can do that, because when you think about it, it was able to basically interact with everybody except for our main character. And I found that to be kind of weird, right? Because he wanted to, this entity clearly wanted to, but didn't have like a version of itself to specifically already get the main character. And yet it was very easily able to do it with all the other people. Maybe it's been doing it for a while. We're not sure. It only sounds like things have been going on for a couple of days, but for all we know, in the rest of the apartments, this could have been happening earlier. We just don't know. But I did enjoy the story. I thought there were plenty of little creepy moments, which was good. I wouldn't say it's like a super scary story. I don't think it's quite that. But I think it's got enough to really kind of give you a level of like, ooh, And I think that's pretty good. I think you can't go wrong with that for a story. I like the fact that we don't know exactly how it ends. The issue of it's a cliffhanger-y kind of a thing where, you could probably write more of a story, but you don't need to. And I think that's the best part about this, because it does feel like it's like an actual forum post, like of somebody's actual experience, and I think that's great. I think it's really, really fun, and I've always enjoyed that kind of a style, because it just adds I'm going to say a little level of realism, not super realism, but it just kind of immerses you a little bit more in the world. I think that's quite good. So yeah, for sure, I really liked it. I'll definitely keep Sean in mind for more voice acting roles while I kind of get everything up to speed and in a better place, while I kind of keep getting my footing over here in the States. Well, because there's a lot of things that I want to do. It's just kind of figuring out how I can schedule everything appropriately so that things can happen and that I don't always lose track of things and fall behind on videos, for example. But anyway, it's really good. This has been Nate at Night. I have had a great little time, and I sure hope you have too. What kind of ghostly weird entity do you think this was? I'm really curious about your opinions, so definitely down below, let me know, okay? Really excited to hear what your thoughts are. For all we know, it could be something I had never heard of. It could be a completely different culture kind of thing. I don't know. I'm really excited to see if somebody knows exactly what this is, or at least something very similar in mind. Very excited. We will see you for whatever's next. Take care. Thank you so much to my YouTube members and Patreon members for all the love and support. It's thanks to people like you that we can keep growing.